We're live, apparently. Yay! Hello.
Yay.
Anybody watching, anyone watching now, anyone watching in the future, this is the Land Down Under Hangout where we talk about movies, books, graphic novels, TV series, and just a whole lot of stuff off topic as well. Tonight, we're doing a little something different. We're actually doing a roundtable discussion, which is kind of how we get off topic most of the time. We end up having roundtable discussions on artificial intelligence. We've read a lot of books, seen a lot of films. It's an area that we all kind of get into because we read a lot of sci-fi. It's really interesting with how, I guess, the world is evolving with technology, that it's no longer becoming science fiction but science fact. And one of the topics that one of the questions I'm interested in talking to the group tonight is, from what we've read of the and seen from both movies and books, and what do we think it's actually going to be like, the sort of and go from there. So there's two tropes I want to kind of throw out and hear from people. Did everyone listen to the podcast by Imaginary Worlds about the...
Yes.
Did everyone get a chance to listen to it? Cool.
Yes, and thank you, because I'm now addicted to that podcast.
It's a great podcast. I thought Liv put me onto it. I don't remember. I think it's Liv. And it's just such a good podcast. There were two tropes they talked about, is that there's that kind of thing of needing to save the machines, like sort of seeing them as being conscious and needing saving, and the other side being that they're going to rise up against us. There was also a really interesting theme in there, which I think it seems to be proving out to be more accurate if we think about the way we currently treat our machines, is this idea of slavery and artificial intelligence. So I kind of just, I don't know where to start and where to go, but has anyone got any comments on some of the stuff that we read in preparation for this? I know that Mel rewatched Short Circuit, the stunning Academy Award-winning film that it is.
Oh, the acting was just so brilliant. I then tried to watch Short Circuit 2 and practically cried and couldn't do it.
I loved that movie as a kid.
No,
yeah, it was the best, wasn't it?
And then I watched Short Circuit 1 and I was like, oh, this is the one I remember. Short Circuit 2 is not what I thought it was.
Yeah. Short Circuit 2 is the kind of becoming a citizen type one. That's what I always remember.
Yeah.
Is it the same main characters in it? Can't remember.
Sorry?
Is it the same main characters from the first? And the
No,
second?
that's the thing. The only character who really comes across, other than Johnny Five, of course, is the guy who's not Indian, who plays the Indian dude, and you just sit the whole time going, oh my God, this is so racist.
Yeah, yeah.
Brown face.
Terrible. It's terrible. Yeah. Terrible.
Watch it.
Think Mickey Rooney in
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Playing the Chinese dude, kind of
So
awful.
bad.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Mickey, why would you do that?
That probably all went over my head as a child.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we talked about that in another edition. I rewatched Breakfast at Tiffany's, and I'd seen it as a child because I watched a lot of old movies because I'm old, and they used to have Sunday,
Yes, I remember that.
golden movies on Sundays and stuff. And so I watched a lot of Cary Grant and that kind of stuff. And I remember seeing it, enjoying it. But then when I rewatched it not that long ago with my mother-in-law, we're like, this shit's dark. Like, this is dark themes. And I've never read the book, so it's like it's pretty challenging stuff. And then the whole yellow face was just, I was just like, oh my God, this is horrifying. But anyway.
Speaking of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
That's my ringtone.
I had a comment, Sarah. I had a comment based on the reading and the podcast. What I found particularly interesting was how people in the industry seem to classify AI very differently to what we think of as AI. The sentience part of it is not something that they consider AI. That's something entirely a step above again for it. AI to them is just really high level programming. And I found that really interesting because it really changes the discussion, because as much as I see why they have a problem with us, people who indulge in sci-fi and a lot of different mediums, tend to sort of get one of those two tropes, the slaves versus the they're going to kill us all kind of thing. in the context of what they're talking about as AI, it's a totally different thing. And I get why they get frustrated with this perspective as to, you know, why people are against AI or don't like it when their definition is so entirely different.
Oh, pardon me.
Karina, how you feeling?
Yes. Yeah. I'm feeling.
So someone might have to remind me what's Karina's is this her fear, the robots rising?
Yeah,
or?
this is how we all die. Yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
And I've just finished playing Horizon Zero Dawn as well, so I'm like really, yep, feeling good. Definitely very reassuring game to play that one.
To be fair, though, it's not like humanoid robots that
No.
kill us all or try to kill us all.
No, it's not.
It's because
But they were still. I mean, it's hard to say anything without spoiling what happens, and
I mean,
yeah.
they're all animals or animal-based robots. They're not humanoid robots.
Yeah.
And
I think that, and we can't talk about, G and I will probably be dying to talk about Westworld, but we can't talk about Westworld. But damn you all for not watching Westworld.
I did watch Westworld, so.
Because that would, I think, is a really interesting discussion of humanoid, because it's no big secret in Westworld, they're humanoid artificial intelligence designed in a theme park. That's not anything secret. I think what's interesting is that's kind of based on a 70s movie, and what I think is interesting is we go into real world where AI is, and this is the bit that I think is really interesting. I want to discuss from the stuff we've read, this idea that humanoid robots are actually kind of useless for what we need. We actually haven't seen a rise of humanoid robots or artificial intelligence. What we've seen a rise of is algorithmic learning programs that are able to do stuff that then are installed into, you know, machines that we find useful. You know, the Google car thing, I think, is a big a big area of interest for me. I think one of the films I remember we talked about was Interstellar, and one of the things I loved about that is that they're not humanoid AI, and that how that they can come out into the field, but they're shaped in a different, you know, they can change their shape to be as thin as possible, so they don't take up room in the ship, to be as useful out in the exploring the worlds. And I suppose that's something I wanted to kind of you know, maybe dissect a little bit. Maybe people got some thoughts about that, about, you know, this whole kind of uncanny valley versus what we're really seeing.
Well, I'm personally of the opinion that if we do get AI, it's unlikely to even be in a robot. It's more likely to be like it is in Her, where it's actually just a computer that activates lots of other things for you, rather than being inside of an actual robot. They're two slightly different things. Sorry,
I mean, we've already got something.
The AI, if it's just in one form, you know, it should be, like you said, like in many. Bunch of drones everywhere.
Well, we've already got something along those lines with things like Google Home and like Alexa and those sorts of things. Like, it's something that can control a bunch of other like robots or, you know, machines, and it can learn from your instructions. So, you know, if you tell it, I want my coffee machine turned on for warming at 7 a.m., you know, it learns that and then starts doing things to, like, you know, it knows that you want to keep the house at 22 degrees, that if it's cold outside, you'll want it a little bit warmer and you might want coffee a bit earlier. You know, it'll start learning things.
Did you guys see the article?
They have a fridge like that.
Yeah. Did you guys read the article that was with the two Google Homes talking to each other and they fell in love?
They started arguing, and then one of them invited, what was the end? The one invited invited to bed, and the other one, like, did something. What was it? Vladimir invited Estragon to bed, and Estragon negged Vladimir by calling him a mole.
I like the name.
The whole thing, though, seems to me like it's sort of like what children do, where they can't actually do these things, and yet they act like they can. So children do that mimicking of behaviour when they do their learning play when they're really young. And so the whole thing seems like that. Question is whether or not it's actually them learning or whether it's just pure mimicry.
Well, I mean, if you watch CPG Gray's second video that I posted, which I only posted the other day, humans may need not apply. Did anyone else watch that?
Yeah, we
we
watched
did
it this afternoon.
Cool. He talks about, Baxter, I think it is, and that is what algorithms do, is that they learn and then apply that to other situations so that they can call on it, which is really what we do as humans anyway. I would have said that we mimic to learn. So show me, don't tell me, show me, and then I do it, and then I learn to do it maybe the slightly better way, more effective way for myself. Then I'm doing something else and I can call on that skill later, which is just building up your own algorithmic learning process. And that's what we're building within our computer programs, or
So the question is whether that indicates a level of consciousness, or whether or not that's
that. And I think that's really interesting, because that's kind of where I was going, is that that's the bit that I find really interesting, is this: what is artificial intelligence and what is conscious intelligence? Like, what is a conscious intelligence? And
self-awareness.
Self-awareness. And if you're programmed to want, to like something or do something, then is it, because I think it comes down to free will, right? What is free will in that situation? But then, you can look at, if we look at our own selves, humans, that there is so much, there's a lot of research out there. I think if you look at stuff from, I can't remember his name. Malcolm Gladwell talks a lot about it, about how we are often just a product of our own, we make so many snap decisions. We don't really assess things sometimes. We make our own algorithmic decisions that aren't necessarily conscious of intelligence, if that makes sense. And I wonder sometimes about that,
would that be more emotional
learned behavior?
But snap?
I didn't prep this, but
more like learned behavior, that you something that you preempt because you've gone through that before, so it's something that you've already got a pathway for. So is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, kind of. I think it's Malcolm Gladwell. They talk about that. It's in the way that we base on our own biases and judgments, like that. That's why unconscious biases. Yeah, and pre-assumptions, exactly. And some of that comes from nurture as well, based on the mimicry question. I don't know where it's going with that. I just thought it was interesting.
The thing is, though, is when it comes to the nature versus nurture thing, that we still don't have a lot of answers behind that. They study it, but there's not a lot that really conclusively gives us an answer, which is, I think, where it becomes very difficult to know. I have never before questioned what AI actually is, and now I'm questioning, well, what is AI? And I'm finding that really, it's sort of a similar sort of problem, because it's the nature versus nurture debate all over again.
I mean, the podcast was saying that, with AI, that if you turn it off, it's like killing them. Like, a lot of people, when she was sort of making her sort of robot, it didn't even work, and people were like, well, you can never turn it off or never unplug it. And I'm like,
it's a robot.
Unplugging, turning it off and unplugging it is like putting a person in a coma. It's not killing the person, they're just asleep. If you plug that machine back in and turn it back on, that AI is still there. You haven't wiped it.
It's kind of like the Long Way to Small Angry Planet. Are you turning it off, or are you doing a hard reset where they might not, all the learning that's happened. So if you turn it off and all of the learning that AI has done stays in place, well, that's one thing. But if you turn it off and it kind of starts from scratch again,
you've
essentially
killed what existed.
Yeah.
Like you've wiped, imagine wiping the brain of a human being so that they don't remember anything.
A coma is a good example of that. And that, if you think about, because it does happen to humans often, strokes can cause that kind of thing.
Yeah. Even if you've had some sort of trauma, doctors will put you in a drug-induced coma, so your body can repair itself, so that your mind isn't sort of shocked when you awake and you've got all this damage.
Yeah.
And I think the same could be said for any sort of AI. If there's been any sort of trauma to their system, if you turn them off or unplug them, it's not killing them unless you're doing a hard reboot where it's wiping all of the learning that they have. Like, as long as when you plug them back in and turn them back on, all the information is still there.
No, it's just like knocking them out against their will. That's not as bad as killing them.
Yeah, but that's just where you've got to consider the differences.
Go into something, you knock people out beforehand, or you turn something off before you use it. Otherwise, it'd be really bad either way.
Mm-hmm. I think that the thing is too is that you have to consider the different circumstances. Like, if you think about the robots that were in Interstellar, and then if you think about Data from Next Generation, turning off Data without his permission is totally wrong. Because he's got a consciousness, he's learning, he's growing, he's developing, but he's also aware of himself, and he's definitely not treated as a slave. He's treated as an individual. Whereas the robots on Interstellar, they were treated as servants. Yes, they had a personality matrix, no different really than Data did, but they were in no way entertained as being equivalent to a human being. And so that's where you've got to sort of make your decision as to where you lie on that, I suppose.
Was it only that they weren't equivalized to a human being because they didn't look human? Like, was that why?
I think that makes it easier. And that's why I think that if we want to stay on that path, we need to make sure that our robots don't look human, because it's far too easy for us to anthropomorphize them otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, if you only look at that Boston Dynamics stuff, that's, you know, like, I think it was talked about in the podcast, but I remember seeing it being presented and very much like Battlestar Galactica kind of feeling, like toasters. Like, I remember seeing the Running Man one. Has anyone else seen that one?
Like four-legged dude. That's four-legged, like
there's the dog.
There's
one of Lex and they use it on a treadmill, and what it actually is there to do is to test. It's used to test clothing for soldiers out, so that they can test to see how long before it rips, how much it can go through. Like, they'll spray, like, that's what it's there to do, is that to constantly test a piece of clothing. But it is quite freaky to look at it, because anyone, you know, you put your knowledge of what you know into it, and, you know, your head goes to Babylon 5 and the toasters. It's like, you know, a whole lot of those coming at you, you know, and to a lesser extent sort of the Star Wars, the prequels. And I think it's, like you said, I can't say that word, Mel, you'll have to say it for me.
Anthropomorphize?
Thank you. I think that definitely is part of it. And the only thing I can think that where it becomes useful is in that Blade Runner sense of where the robot, you know, doesn't know, you know, it doesn't, it's created for other reasons. So pleasure being one of them, which is the whole Westworld premise, is because these are, you know, you're wanting to inhabit a world of, you know, NPCs, and you are the player. And in Blade Runner, you know, I'm not quite sure of the miners, but Pris, for instance, was what they called a pleasure bot. And I'm like, I can see that being an aspect of the future. But as far as the others that were like used on the off-worlds to do mining, maybe it's in the fingers, but I can see there still being robots that don't need to look like humans doing that. But I thought that idea of Decker and Rachel, you know, let's ignore the sequel coming up, but that idea of him perhaps not knowing whether, you know, was he a replicant, was he not? And I think that would be the thing, is where you don't want people to know. I think it was an ex machina, remember? Like, that she could blend in. And that was the question when it became that type of thing. And I think that'll be the interesting, the Turing test and all that kind of stuff, is that if we do see human uncanny valley, you know, if we can get out of the uncanny valley, it'll be probably for surreptitious purposes, you know, spies, for instance. That kind of intelligence. But as far as help, you know, taking over jobs from humans, I think it's not. It's going to be built into everything around us as well. I think that's what's interesting about what is it called? Ancillary justice. Like, I totally got that whole. What was her name? His name.
Breck.
Yes. I got Breck as being, you know, the ship AI and everything, but it's interesting how they used what was the word they used for the bodies they used? They had
auxiliaries.
ancillaries, why those were better. I suppose it's because they were disposable in their world, right?
Well, I think the thing is too is that like for something to develop to the point where it for a robot, an android in this case, to become a spy, they would have to actually be able to mimic humans to the point where you can't tell the difference. But to develop that kind of technology, it has to be useful in a lot of different areas in the meantime until it got to that stage. And the question is, where is that useful? Well, pretty much the only one I can think of is actually sex bots.
Pleasure.
Have you seen Black Mirror?
Yeah.
Has anyone seen Black Mirror?
No, not yet.
I haven't. I was gonna. I saw
Black Mirror where a partner dies and they use the social media posts from that partner to mimic.
I've heard about this
him.
one. Yes.
So she would message him and talk to him, and he responded as if he would have in real life. And the more social media input she fed him, so she fed the bot his emails and videos, and they ended up speaking because he mimicked his voice. They got like voice recordings, and then she ended up buying him a silicone body and implanting him in it. Like, it was far out there, but yeah, that's what Black Mirror does. It takes like a technological thing and twists it to like a horror. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
No wonder I haven't watched it.
I don't think it's going to be your thing.
That's on my list.
One I just saw advertised. It was linked in something I was watching about, and it actually explores AI and the singularity where they cross over into consciousness. That's a new episode, and I don't know which one it is yet, but I just saw like a preview of it today.
Sounds interesting.
I really... Sorry.
I was just going to say, there's a show that I watched the first season of a little while ago called Humans, where their AI are all very humanoid, and they are basically created to be slaves. Like, they're carrying people's bags and doing groceries and doing the housework and all those sorts of menial tasks. Like, there was a orchard full of androids that were picking fruit. Like, they weren't using them. They weren't using them for anything you would really need to use robots for. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it would be
like
nice
space
to have
jobs that were too difficult or dangerous for humans to do, but they're just like minimum wage jobs.
Menial tasks. Yeah.
And I mean, it would be nice to have a robot to come and clean my house, so I did not have to do it. But like,
that exists already. It's just not a humanoid robot. It's a little round thing that you.
No, that's for vacuuming. I want someone that will like wipe my benches and do my dishes and mop my floors.
I do that.
But interestingly, if that is the transaction that is going to take place, I don't want it to look like a human.
Oh no, I definitely
because of that slavery implication, and that I will apply emotion to this thing. I know it needs to be a transaction in the same way that I'm like, I guess I feel that way about my computer. It's very, I want it to be a very transactional kind of thing. I have purchased this thing to help me, but it needs to be a thing, not a person.
Yeah, but in saying that, like, I use voice search on my phone a lot, and even just to like take down memos and stuff like that, I will do it with my voice instead. And after it's done, I will always say thank you to it, even though it's not real. It's a box. And that kind of freaks me out because it doesn't look like anything. Like, why am I thanking you, Google?
Yeah, it's the Google one. Google's better at it.
I usually just swear at Google because it's not working.
Terrible. And I'm calling her she, but it's not good.
My Siri is a dude.
The Google one is way better.
My Siri is a dude.
It depends what you change it in your settings.
Default.
Siri can be whoever you want them to be.
Yeah.
It's kind of like her when you hit her at the beginning, you can set what it's going to be basically. So you can choose accents and all sorts.
But I mean, talking about Humans, the show, the premise is that there are some androids that were created by like the guys that first developed them, that like you find this out in like the first episode or two. that they're not made, because most of the androids aren't made, like they've got learning capabilities, but they're not personable. They don't have a personality. And then there's, like, in the first episode, you find the first one that has a personality.
See, the thing is that I don't need a personality to anthropomorphize. And that's why I would really prefer we avoid that. Personalities, no. As much as it's cute in movies, is bad for robots.
Well, it's funny that you make that analogy. Lionel and I went and saw Alien Covenant yesterday, and if anyone's seen Prometheus, you'll remember Michael Fassbender, David, being like really creepy in that. In Covenant, we see a newer version of the same model.
I love him.
And
he is hot,
and they've taken away like certain aspects of him because people found him disconcerting how human he was. So the later model is less human.
That's interesting. But I did think I'd never really seen Michael Fassbender or anything before, and I saw him for the first time in that. I mean, I didn't think it was a particularly good movie, but I thought it was hot.
What shame.
I was like,
shame or shameless?
Just don't go see him in the what's the name game movie? What's the one where they do the diving? Yeah, apparently that's no good either.
Well, I watched Tangled today.
Oh,
That was a much
Assassin's
better
Creed.
representation of Assassin's Creed at the beginning. I was like, it's Assassin's Creed. They're all running around. That's great.
Any kind of game movie remakes are pretty
terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because the storytelling
You
is
hope
already
so.
good. To condense it down,
Us gamers always have that hope, though, don't we?
we do.
Yes, we do.
It's the same with books, though. Like, if you have a book that you love and they're making a movie, you kind of like have a dread and a hope at the same time, where you're like, oh, I hope they don't screw this up. But, oh, it's going to be so good.
Yeah.
Like, if they made a movie about Mistborn or something, you'd be like, oh, that's so exciting.
It can't be a movie.
They'll screw it up.
It can't be a movie.
TV series.
It has to be a TV series.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's way too much. And I've also always said, and actually a lot of other people in the Pocketeers group say this too, it would be a fantastic game to play as a Mistborn. Sorry, I know it's off topic, but I always like, because someone asked the question, what would you love to see as a game? I'm like, that world is
Straight to fantasy.
But can they make it like a really sort of more open world rather than just a storyline version? I would
It would have to be an open world.
It has to be
because they
open
have
world.
to travel.
Yeah.
The way she travels quite a long.
And it'd be kind of cool to play. So you could play as a Mistborn, but you could also play as the guys with the spike. Like, it would be kind of cool to play as different types of.
In the club, a few people in the club. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the club called?
Oh, wouldn't it be cool if that actually did come out as a game, but it was an MMORPG and we could all play online together?
Oh,
yeah.
We'll play one of the characters. That'd be pretty
Oh
cool.
my god.
Oh God, now I want it.
Really, I know.
Someone email Blizzard.
Damn it.
Matt still hasn't read those books. I don't know.
Neither have I.
What?
But, Naomi,
Get on
but
it.
playing a game with everyone online would be amazing.
Yeah, it would actually.
I haven't finished the series, but I finished the Stormlight Archive. That's really good too.
I don't do games, but I watch people play games.
Yeah.
You can watch me play it.
It's not that I don't
games
like
right
games,
now.
it's just that I'm really, really bad at them, and I get lost and I can't figure out how to make my person move to where it needs to go, and I just get
Oh no,
frustrated.
that's why I
and give up.
like playing MMORPGs with other people, because I get lost, so I could just follow them around everywhere.
And it seems like it'd be really good.
Be my friend.
He is up and on and off quite often.
Yeah. That's
When you get into a rhythm,
player, Kirsten, because I get lost if I play first player because I don't have my sense of direction gets to this. And I'm like, I can't, or like this. I'm like, third person, I don't get lost.
I can't even play. Matt was trying to get me to play those Lego. I think it was the Lord of the Rings one. He was trying to get me to play, and I'm like, I can't even do this. I am just.
Oh no,
not
the camera
Xander could probably do it, and I
that.
can't.
It's like it swings around, and I'm like, whoa, oh, I don't know which way I'm facing now.
Well, see, and he had this split screen thing going on, where I had my screen and he had his screen, and then I'm like, but it's just, I can't do it.
I know.
I'll just watch you play. It's all right.
I like it when you're in the same frame. I have to agree. Like we bought Halo when we first got our Xbox, and I just like, I can't play this. Like, this is why everyone brings their own laptops and stuff. Anyway, that actually leads us to
party.
you, or a question or point we could talk about is, I think that the fact that we've got NPCs, and sometimes they're quite developed stories, and in a way they're an artificial intelligence within the game, right? They're programmed to Has someone got a dog or cat that they're talking to? I can hear it.
Yeah, my cat bit me.
Oh boy.
Well, not very hard. He just surprised me, so I said, "Hey," at him.
Tombo.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's laying on my lap like a little baby.
Oh.
Actually, I am holding him like this on my lap, like a big baby.
I was just saying to Karina earlier that it's too bad that we couldn't get people to play or at least watch Horizon Zero Dawn, because the story is really interesting in this sort of concept.
Interesting.
Sort of seeing what's gone down and why the world is the way it is, because I mean, you tell from the very beginning that there's something obviously wrong with the world, like something has happened where it's like post-apocalyptic-y.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting seeing the way it goes.
See, the whole problem behind all of this is that I would have to have an actual game console.
To play that particular one, you'd need a PS4.
Yeah, I know.
Is that Horizon?
Yeah.
All my game consoles, well, actually, none of them are my game consoles, but any of the game consoles in this house, I think the newest is the original Wii.
Look, you'll just have to move to Brisbane so you can play it on my PS4.
Yeah.
On mine, that will be here in 2 months.
Is that what's happening?
But I do think it raises an interesting point, which was echoed in the podcast, which is, I do think by and large, as we have artificial, as our appliances, as it were, become smarter and smarter, our houses become smarter as we apply artificial intelligence within them or learning algorithms, I think we're going to treat them like shit. And I think that if you think about how I am the same as Karina, right? I find it very hard to be bad in a game world. I feel like I need to be nice to people. Like, like I don't want to, I find like I want to go and help. Like, what was it? Red Dead Redemption is the classic one, because it was one of my first ones I played for ages after not playing for years. And, I couldn't, you can play that good or bad, right? And it's full of grey, which I love, which is why I love that storyline in that world so much. But I would still like, actually pull out my gun and go, oh no, I didn't mean that. He's like, ooh, and I'll be like, no, and I want to apologize to people, I'll be.
But I think the other thing,
and, but other people you see in this video footage of how people treat NPCs in these worlds, and just it's
Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto.
Oh yeah.
I tried to play it, and it wasn't my jam.
I think there's something to take away, though, from the history of slavery, in that the fact of the matter is that even during those times, there were heaps of people who were perfectly polite to their slaves, but still saw them as less than human. And I think that's an important aspect to this, because the thing is that there's nothing wrong with being polite to them, but whether or not we treat them as human is the key factor here. And equating them to the equivalent of what happened in the terms of slavery, where they were viewed as less than human, is something to sort of be aware of and constantly evaluate, because it's dangerous territory if we actually do end up in that sort of circumstance.
What I found interesting
Sorry, Kirsten.
I was just going to say, I found it interesting when they were talking about how, so if the AI doesn't really have a consciousness and doesn't really isn't self-aware, it may not matter to the AI if you treat it less than human.
Yeah.
But I found it interesting that the podcast was talking about the psychological impact on you if you are treating something, especially if it's a humanoid something, as a slave, and the psychological impact of you acting as the slave owner. And I found that really interesting, because I hadn't thought about that side of it before.
I think that's what Mel's kind of, I feel like what Mel was kind of alluding to was that side of it, is that how does it make us? And, I think it brings up some good questions there.
But at the same time, we're still sort of making this equivalency, which the experts were deliberately telling us we shouldn't be doing. And what I'm start questioning when I hear that is this a people who work in genetic manipulation versus the Gattaca equation?
What's the Gattaca equation?
Does everybody know the movie Gattaca?
Oh, okay, right. And what's the equation within it? Because I haven't seen
Well, the basic concept of what happens in Gattaca, where we get to the point where we don't have children without basically pre-splicing them and deciding what they want them to be. And everything is pre-designated as to what is going to happen to you based on your genes before you're even born.
And then if you're born as
naturally
accident instead of being engineered, then you're seen as less than human in a way. Like you can't do a job. Like in the movie, he's like, well, you pretty much can only be a janitor because you weren't designed. You were just born.
Jasmine, Eon Flux was about more cloning because they couldn't reproduce.
That's right. I can't remember. But they ended up having a child, or didn't they? I can't remember.
Yeah, that at the end, the final part of it was one of them.
Well, if you want to get really terrified about that kind of stuff, Radiolab's done a couple of episodes on CRISPR. Has anyone heard about what that is? Which is basically exactly what happens in Gattaca. It's real technology. It's here now. It's being used.
Yeah,
and it's That's the thing. It's the moral.
Well, I heard you could genetically make a male or a female. Is that right? You can choose the sex of your baby, which I think is fuck that shit. Sorry, but no.
Yeah, but
leave it to nature.
It's such a fine line though, because you've got the people that have genetic predispositions to, say you have haemophilia in your family, or other genetic things that can be passed on, and you're like, well, can you select to not have your child be born with something that is going to have them die? Like there's a lot of genetic, I can't think of any exact example off the top of my head, but there's plenty of genetic diseases.
Like you wouldn't want them to have
which is you're born without the nerve coatings in your feet and sometimes your hands, so your nerves decay a lot faster. So by 30 or 40 you start noticing that your nerves in your feet and your wrists and your ankles don't respond as well. So one of my aunts has actually started for her grandkids an IVF, putting away money in case they want kids in the future to have IVF, so they can make sure that their kids don't have the condition.
Wow.
That's really
but the question behind all of that is, where do you draw the line, right?
Exactly.
Really, because there's a difference between doing CRISPR. So this is the bit that I totally recommend. Check out the Radiolab, because it's always, if you haven't listened to Radiolab, it's another great podcast, and they do really good kind of.
You need more podcasts.
I know, but it's really good, and the storytelling, so it will help explain it in a kind of a balancing out kind of way, scientific layman style, and it's exactly that thing, right? Of going, if you're performing it on people that haven't had a choice yet, that's part of the big question around it. Because at the moment, what actually happens in IVF, and I don't know about choosing the sex of your child, but what actually happens is that they will fertilize several eggs at once.
Yeah,
that's where you choose the sex. They say, we've got 3 females and 2 males. Do you want to choose? That's what happens. They don't sit there and go, we're making this male, we're making this female. Or not in this country. I'm not sure about overseas. But it tends to be that's where you get to choose. And in fact, in this country, you're not allowed to choose. There's actually a law that states you can't choose.
Not actually against that.
No, I think it's good, because if we are wanting to break down the patrarchy, then this is part of this.
Is we end up in a situation where there was so many males, especially in cultures where, like in China, where it's like.
And it's put them in the poo. It's put them massively in the poo, because it came with the rise of abortion,
we'll probably end up with the Handmaid's Tale situation.
Well,
females in the end.
About that.
And that's actually a good point, because it's I think the more important question is not where do you draw the line, but who gets to decide where the line is drawn.
That's exactly.
No one should.
See, and then
who can make that decision?
Got the situation like, I have a genetic condition where I'm missing a tooth. Like I have a false tooth because I had one tooth that just never formed, and my dad was missing 6. Either of my kids could have this. It was adult teeth, so I won't know until they're older, unless they get an X-ray now, because they do have all that. You do have all the adult teeth when you're a baby, but they're all just up in your jaw and they haven't come down yet. So we could probably find out now, really, if we wanted to.
I know.
But would you select for something like that, which is pretty much cosmetic? Okay, it's probably, if our kids have it, it's going to cost us a shitload in things like braces and stuff. But it's pretty much cosmetic. That's like, you know what I mean? Like then do you go, well, I want them to have this colour eye.
It might be cosmetic,
hair.
yes, but it can also affect them, make them insecure, which is,
But you could say that about, so many things in
I can say that about having a big
maybe
nose.
in the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
About being ginger.
Or about
I've got a bent arm. I have a bent arm that I was born with through, I think I was born with it, or it was like an injury through birth because I was a breech baby. And I can't physically straighten my arm. So they have to go in, and it's a bit of a spur inside my joint. So they have to cut it off. And I have to go through so much surgery, but it's affected me, not just physically lifting stuff, but, just I felt a bit weird and really insecure. No one ever noticed it until I pointed it out, but I'm just saying.
But you noticed it yourself, yeah.
And it's also ruining my other shoulder. So off topic, but I'm just saying, if I had a choice,
it wouldn't have been your choice. That's the thing.
No, it would have been my parents' choice, and they wouldn't have known.
I think the other thing too is this: it comes into a question of diversity as well, because when you think about people who are born with like disabilities, like they can't walk and things along those lines, or their an arm didn't properly form, and all of those sorts of things. It seems like an obvious thing, like, I would want to have that corrected, or all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, if you talk to a lot of them who are actually proud of how they've actually found this and the things that have come out of us developing things for people with disabilities, it's kind of like, well, actually, again, where's that line drawn?
Yeah.
Because I also think, well, okay, there's some, you could scream for everything, but you don't know what life's going to throw at you. Your disability or issue may come because you get hit by a car. Well, maybe not a Google car, but this is my thing with Google car. It's like, you can be as great as you want on the road. You can't stop someone running out,
Yeah.
Pedestrians,
you're right.
Pedestrians are the worst. So I don't know how they're going to cope with this.
Yeah, it'd be great if there were no pedestrians or animals or natural disasters or
natural selection.
It's still, I'm sure it's still going to be a hell of a lot better than human drivers, but any issue that's going to happen is going to be other humans interfering in that situation.
I thought it was fascinating because after the CPG Grey video on the drivers, the robotic drivers, I was almost sold on the idea, except for I was scared by it. But I thought I was like, this is obviously a direction we'll end up having to go. But after listening to the podcast and them talking about the fact that all the drivers are going to aim for them and cut them off and take advantage of them, I was like, this is complex.
It's just like either all the cars have to be self-drive or none of the cars have to be self-drive.
Exactly.
And this is my point. Until you cater for every and this is the diversity thing. We have a diversity.
And then you've got pedestrians.
Until you cater for every type of human being as being a passenger, and I'm looking at the children that are not catered at the moment by any car manufacturer in the world. They leave it to a third party. We cannot, because we're a classic case, we didn't have a car. We never intended to buy a car. And when we had a child, we were forced to buy a car because lugging in and out, I can't show up at a car share, which is, or a Google car or whatever, and go, I can just put my child in it. I can't do that. So until they create a car,
you can't carry the car seat around,
and the car seat weighs so much, and I'm just like, and I got sick of. So that is the thing, and I'm like going, if they're going to solve this problem, if you want to, I'm all for it. But you have to cater for everybody, including people with disabilities who may not be able to sit comfortably. So for instance, small people, so who have dwarfism and that kind of thing, they need to be comfortable.
I was watching. Sorry, Sarah. Keep going.
No, it just annoys me because well, it's not annoying, but I think that is exactly that balance of we need, it's like it's all well and good, but every article I read and until that podcast, I went, we're going to treat them like shit because we're going to end up sharing the road. Like it's not going to be all or nothing. It's going to be sharing.
It's going to have to be a transition where people can't afford to buy those cars unless they go and give them to everybody for free.
Yeah,
there's going to be a time where some people can't afford to buy the self-driving cars.
Yeah, and the cars can be completely, if you don't have a driver, you don't all need to face the same way. It could be completely different, configuration.
Is it called a Waymo?
Yeah.
Waymo.
I was going to say that I've been watching this show on it's ABC iView, and it's called You Can't Ask That.
I've been
you
wanting
seen
to
that?
watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, a friend of
Such a
mine
good
was
show.
in an episode.
Oh, really? Which episode?
The one about prostitution.
I haven't seen that one yet. I've seen probably
was-
about a handful of different ones.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the first season, so it may or may not still be on iView.
I think that they're all still on iView because I was watching some from the first season, but I've kind of been picking and choosing, going, "Oh, that one sounds interesting." And so I watched one from that was about blind people, and they were talking about how they just can't wait for self-driving cars. And one of the guys said, "Oh, well, that's stupid because it's not like you're really driving." And the other woman went, "I don't give a shit. It still means I can get in a car and go to where I need to go without having to stuff around with public transport."
Yep.
You know, and I was like, I
blind.
love that.
Blind. I thought you said wine.
Oh yeah, blind. But I think that's
Blind people, yes. I think
Blind, can't see.
I'm a wine person. I have that problem.
That's another reason
be
why
great
I really
for
like Apple, guys, because all Apple technology comes with as much as they can pack into it for accessibility. So if you go into any Apple product, you don't need to install anything if you're blind, if you're hearing impaired, all of these. It's built with all of those sorts of things. So they cater for a diverse range, and they don't worry about having to have third-party stuff. And I just think that that's the way things should be, because it's not just a matter of it's right and equal, but it's also a matter of you don't know what you could need. There's things that I use out of accessibility, even though I'm not somebody who has a well, actually, no, sorry, I have hearing aids now. I'm technically a disabled person. Kind of. But like,
she's a smart robot. Get her.
I'm bionic. Woohoo! There's things in there that I use which are not relevant to my hearing, but that are useful and handy for people. And they're just there. It's just built in for everyone to use. And I think that's the way technology should be.
That's I've got some friends who work in accessibility. In fact, Sarah runs Alley Bites, which is a big accessible kind of conference, and she's done a couple of talks that really helped open my eyes. And one of the things she said is that if you think about accessibility, you'll be surprised how, if you're thinking it could be accessible for so many people. So ramps, for instance, ramps were created for people in wheelchairs, or people who perhaps couldn't work, Zimmer frames, it was harder. And they cater now for prams, bicycles, people with wheelie luggage. It actually expands it out, right?
Since I had kids, I was like, I've had a new understanding for people in wheelchairs. I've been like, fuck, there's so many places where you just can't get. And like today, even at the show, and we had to go up, and Matt had to push the pram up this really steep grassy hill, and I'm like, okay, well, he had to push it up, and I kind of stood at the front and pulled from the other end, and I'm like, well, you couldn't have done that at all in a wheelchair, and there may have been a way to get to that same place we were going to in a wheelchair, but it would have been a very roundabout way.
That's it.
And it does kind of give you that insight into what a pain in the ass it must be, and how many places are still really not accessible.
Yeah. And this is one example. I mean, it's, there are lots of examples of building in accessibility into our technology. And that's where I'm excited about AI, right? About making things more accessible.
That's kind of Matt's little baby at work, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, I'm a certified web accessibility person. Cool. I've also done guest lecturing on accessibility for web technologies and that kind of thing. So
awesome.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
And try and get people on board with, developing their stuff in a way that's inclusive and accessible for everyone.
Yeah, very important.
Matt, if you ever need a contact at Apple, I'm friends with the head of Apple in Australia who deals with accessibility.
Maybe you could get them to improve their stuff instead of making it worse.
They are constantly working on it. There's constant updates, so got to give him credit for that.
I've got a friend who is he's a system administrator at my work, and he's blind. It's been blind since he was 12, and he complains all the time. He's an Apple guy, but he complains because all the accessibility stuff is getting worse with each subsequent iOS release.
Well, at work, sorry, this is a little off topic, but I got a new computer for work because I'm now an employee. So they got me a new MacBook Pro, and you can't just walk out of the door with the MacBook Pro and be ready to go. You now need to buy like 3 different dongles at $110 each to be able to get it to interface with anything. And I'm just like, they've changed it. They're putting profit margins in, and I love this, right? Yeah. So all the new phones, have got this. Okay, great. Do you think the new MacBook Pro has it? No. So I have to carry around, I have to leave a pair of headphones at work, and I have a different pair of headphones. It's just like, make up your effing minds. Like, and this is what I mean. I feel like it's I think it feels greedy to me, because I'm like, it doesn't interface with anything at the moment, because you should be including a dongle out of respect to people. So I just get. And I feel like they're going backwards too. I feel like Steve died. They're going downhill.
But Apple's always been ahead of the curve with that sort of stuff. Everybody said the same thing when they got rid of the CD drives, but they were right. They were useless and not being used so much anymore. So
yes, but I want a converter. I like my Apple headphones. I do not like these $10 bullshit ones that I bought from Big W. But I want to use my Apple headphones with my computer when I'm doing a hangout with you guys. I use my Apple headphones when I'm listening on to a podcast or whatever on my phone. But they can't plug into my computer. And do you think I can find a converter that goes lightning port
to USB?
Yeah, not to USB. I want it to
3.5 mil.
So I want to be able to plug my lightning port in and then have it become a normal headphone port and then plug it into my computer. I went and looked and I can't even find that connector.
Yeah, I know, guys, but I agree, because I'm super frustrated with it too, because I'm dealing with it. But I just know it's because it's just a transitionary period. What they're moving to, the new port, is where we're going.
Yeah, as long as everybody goes there. I mean,
yeah, that's pretty much the way it's going.
It's like the Windows one, because they make the best ergonomic stuff. Right? Yeah. Still, this is still the best. So I've got this for work as well. So every time, and I always take this into meeting rooms with me, because I find using the trackpad is not as effective. So it means now that I don't get to just leave the USB thing in for it to connect to. I have to take everything out of the dongle. Then I get back and I plug in my monitor, and then the monitor, it doesn't register the monitor, and I have to plug. It's just so annoying. And they got rid of. So they got rid of the USBs. Okay, fine. But they got rid of the card reader, and now you have to get a different dongle, not the same dongle, another $110 dongle to have the card reader. And when I'm making web videos, that bloody card reader is so damn handy. But now I have to get another $110 of the card reader. Sorry?
It seems ridiculous to get rid of a card reader.
No, it's because it's actually all going to be faster on the new USB.
But tell me if I don't see any.
They need to actually develop this technology and roll it out for people first before they start putting it in everything.
Look, guys,
selling $110 dongles.
I can't say that I'm happy with it either, because I complain to Nye about it all the time. But in the end, what I know is going on is that it's just they're always ahead of the pack when it comes to this shit.
Yeah,
and that's really frustrating. Annoying.
But like the headphones, there was a thing I was like, okay, like the headphones, they actually provided a converter. They didn't provide the converter the other way, so I'm with Kirsten on that. I'm like, you should have provided a converter the other way.
Yeah, that's what I want, because I never used
the dongle for freaking free. That should have come as per standard. I think there should have been one in there that was an HDMI slot and what's the one? The cart one, is it called?
Lightning.
No, for a monitor.
Thunderbolt.
Thunderbolt. Yeah. No, it's the pin one. I've forgotten the name of it. Anyway.
Oh, VGA?
Yeah, VGA, because like some are HDMI, some are VGA, and then a USB. I just think they should have come as standard, but didn't. Anyway, we've got off topic because we're good at that.
So long, so I'm so used to it.
Anyway, we've got off topic.
That's all right.
We
do that. Hello to anybody who's watching us for the first time. This is a video where we all go off topic.
This isn't on air.
I've got 30 subscribers now, guys. I picked up 2 new ones with the last video. So, you never know. They could be excited when they get notified about this tomorrow morning.
I think your MacBook Pro needs a tweak.
Yes, there you go. There's your next episode.
Yes, Mum, because I commented on your SodaStream one. Mum watched the SodaStream one. The only thing she said was the complaint is that hers doesn't drip like yours does. She goes, mine never drips. And I'm like, how does yours ever drip?
No, because we've got the newer, the newest non-powered.
But I've actually never noticed it dripping before. Maybe because it does have the little tray that I've just never paid attention to the fact that it drips. But I have never noticed that before.
But as I said, it would sometimes it drips, but it's often human error. Because as a human, I don't have my slave AI at the moment doing my SodaStream for me.
There is that. If you pay enough, you can get that one.
I know, right?
And you can get it built into your fridge. And it just goes and it just and I'm watching it because they got it for Christmas and we were over there at their house when they were using it for the first time. Like, it's going to explode. It's fizzing it too much. Oh my goodness! And then it was like okay, and I was like, oh, I'd obviously just under fizz mine all the time.
Sarah, you'll find this hilarious. When Mum got hers, the battery was dead. The lights.
Off the lights.
Ours doesn't have light. Ours is the one that you said was the better version.
It's
and we were like, oh, we got the one that we.
Have you got the play? You've got the play.
The one that's got the little tray at the bottom and you still press down, but it doesn't have lights.
Yes. Yeah.
Mine is an old cheap version, and I still love it. You just go by the burps.
We had no
first few times I did it, scared the crap out of the cats.
Yeah, it just broke.
I wanted something nicer. Yeah. I reckon it'll break eventually. It's hard to sort of get the top with the canister out of the base. It's a real pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But
have you got to screw yours in and screw it out, or have you got a click one?
Yeah, mine's an old. It's not an old one. It's sort of an old one, but it's also the cheapest model they had.
Yeah, well, that's what we bought originally. So we had the Jet, which you can see in the video, and I have to admit, like the screwing them in and out was such a pain.
Whereas I'm like a little bit scared that it's not clicked in properly.
My uncle and aunt had to have the electric version. I do not know how it works, but we couldn't find. Mum wanted one, and she couldn't find it sold anywhere.
Because it's like $300.
JB. Yeah. JB have them. Seen them there.
Well, no one had them when we looked at JB, Good Guys, Harvey Norman, all those sort of places. Even just online in general. Online in general, they had it already. We went over there. Mum goes, "Oh, that's really good," and we could not even find it online.
Yeah,
anywhere.
I don't reckon it'd be really
made at the time.
Having seen it in action, it's kind of cool that it's just pressing a button, but I don't think it's worth the extra money that it is.
Mum's got disposable. I wouldn't buy it myself.
Oh, but really, accessibility. It's great for someone who can't.
That's true, and that was brought up about it.
Mum has problems with her wrists now, so pressing the thing down is a little bit harder for her.
And that's the thing about the block on the play, and my old one, the Source, which the play is the one that the Baileys have got. That is much better because it's easy at the flat hand. Whereas you used to have the little, you've got the Jet with the little, so you've got to really press the button thing. It isn't very comfortable, so the block is a little easier. But I understand it from that point of view. But the one that your friends have, sorry, we're really off topic, but is it plugged into the wall, or does
you have to plug it into the electricity.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because I was going to say you can't reach the PSI without having power into that. You couldn't run that off batteries. And question, I wonder how it does it read it off PSI?
I have no idea. It has the 3 lights like the old one that you were talking about has. Yeah. And you can press do you want 1, 2, or 3, and then it just kind of. It almost it just goes, and it doesn't kind of when I visit, and I was watching it thinking, maybe I fizz it wrong, because I kind of press it and hold until I hear that burpy sound, and then I press it and hold it again. Whereas this kind of just goes, and just keeps pumping it in like that.
Each of them have different actions. I wrote a whole piece that I actually cut out of the script about how the Jet is a one, and the one I've got and you've got is more of a.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love the sound effects though. Honestly.
Oh yeah,
who's
really
good sound effect?
Yeah.
Very technical there.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, we went really, really off topic. But if you're on this channel,
hey, one day those things will be an AI.
Did you know? So quickly before we get off the soda stream topic, I was watching a video on YouTube the other day, and I don't even know how it showed up in my. It showed up in my suggested videos. It was this dude. Who was showing you how you can save money by filling up your SodaStream bottle with dry ice.
I watched that. Don't do it. God, don't do it.
I was watching it the whole time thinking, oh God, I'm never trying this.
Oh. I was
like, ridiculous.
The best thing about the video is the whole time he's doing it, he's got this lorikeet, this pet lorikeet that's just sitting there on the kitchen bench eating watermelon. And he's the most Aussie bloke you've ever seen as well. It's
so funny.
By the way, Sarah, I think you should get some SodaStream sponsorship. I've almost got Nike convinced to buy one.
Do it.
On your video.
I haven't turned on ad revenue because we're in the apocalypse, and I don't think I don't think I'm allowed to.
I think they changed it to have you got? I think you at least have to have 10,000 views or something now.
I think so. I don't know. There's an option to monetize it, or at least say it's sponsored, but I haven't gone there yet because it's more of a like for me. You want a branding exercise. Like it's a way of showing my thinking, and I'm going to try and do one a month. I think the next one's going to be a like a what do you call it? Like a preview. Like what do you call it when you kind of see something for the first time?
Our first look?
Yeah, first look. It's going to be like
first impressions stuff.
First impressions kind of one on a fashion app to sell stuff because I got lots of, and I want to see how that goes. So that's what I'm putting on.
First impressions.
My mum,
like you
have our old soda stream.
What happened to the video from our last meetup and our book hunt and all that?
Yeah, I didn't get there. I went through a whole lot of stuff, but I plan on doing that. I've thinking about doing it at the end of the year. But yeah, it's up there. Like you can see. Look. I've got like
I can't see anything because you're a blank screen.
Sorry.
I can see post-its on the wall.
Yeah, post-its. And they say, I don't know if you can see it, but look, see, there they are. And it says editing, and it's
there. I've ordered, and I hope it comes in my grocery order because if it's out of stock, they just take it off the list. The soda company. Soda company syrup that you'll use, Soda Press company, because they have it in the city one, but I'm not going all the way out of the city, so I just did some online grocery shopping.
Nice.
So hopefully
I think Dan Murphy's have one as well. That looks good.
I was going to order it from them, but when you buy the Soda Press company ones in a single, that particular one, you have to buy two at the same time.
Oh.
No. So I will see if I like it. I will buy two from Dan Murphy's, but
cool.
And also they're cheaper individually. Like if I'm buying several ones, it's probably cheaper individually buy it from their site because they're about $4 cheaper. Right. But it's not free shipping. So
yeah. I think it's okay. I'm still looking for the perfect one. I'm still looking for the perfect one.
Because there's so many. You could go nuts on Dan Murphy's. There's another site called I'll have to see if it's in my list. Only Bitters. Onlybitters.com is an Australian store. And they sell bitters and tonics and syrups and stuff.
I noticed that last time, I think it was First Choice I was at, not Dan Murphy's, but they're pretty much the same. And they had so many different, it used to be, I only ever knew about Angostura bitters, but now there's like 50 different kinds of bitters that you can buy.
Orange bitters are the bomb.
Oh, that'd be good in a Negroni, right? I mean, you don't really put bitters in a Negroni, but...
Yep. Anyway, we're off topic again.
Sorry. On
topic.
It's always my fault.
So
bring it back on topic.
I wanted to ask Mel about Short Circuit, and other than the terrible brown face that she saw, which has scarred her, like we've talked about the back to scarring. I'm like, what the
in my childhood?
Yeah, like that, right? And you're going, why did I think this was okay? What were your impressions with Short Circuit? Because I thought actually, looking back, having not rewatched it, I have definitely fond memories of how they kind of get to a consciousness level.
I loved that movie so much as a kid. Like, I cannot tell you how much I loved that movie as a kid. And I never saw the first one. I never saw Short Circuit. I only ever saw Short Circuit 2.
So you never saw him when he was a military machine or anything?
No, I only ever saw the one where he's like reading Frankenstein and deciding
which is hilarious because he is Frankenstein's monster.
Whereas I've actually decided now that it's Short Circuit 1 that I always watched and loved. The thing about it is, and I think that a lot of movies that deal with AI, especially in that area, suffered from a similar sort of thing. The whole consciousness of Johnny Five is brought about by an anomaly. He gets struck by lightning.
Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Yep. Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, that one. So to me, this caused a lot of problems because while I enjoyed the story and I found Johnny Five quite personable and everything, the thing is that the concept of him going from this purely, and because they show all of the old 80s technology programming him and everything, the concept of him jumping from this completely, it's not even automated because they're literally typing commands constantly to get them moving. So to go from that to now I have a conscience is just such a leap that's just ridiculous.
See, whereas I kind of saw that as but I saw that as like nobody knows where life originated from in the first place. In, you know,
Big Bang.
Unless,
stuff,
I mean,
right?
I'm an atheist, so I kind of don't have like this view of a God deciding that life should be. So there are a lot of people that kind of see it in that way, that it was just this freak thing that happened. Could have been like a primordial soup struck by lightning. I know that struck by lightning is a real cliche and probably not completely scientific, well, at all scientifically accurate. But I kind of saw it in that way, like it's in the same way that life itself began. Nobody really knows how. It was the random occurrence, and
see, I put it down to evolution and experience of that creature that as it evolved. So things like
yes, but when that first spark of life, scientists still don't know where the first spark of life came from. They've tried to recreate that, you know, the soup of what kind of things would be around, and that primordial soup of.
But see, that's a whole that's
chemicals, and trying to get life to originate, and scientists have never been able to
life. That's not life. That's the Big Bang. That's a slightly
no. I'm talking about on Earth, life on Earth. So you've got Earth has got a bunch of chemicals and non-life basically, and life came from one spark. And there's only ever been once that it happened on Earth. There's never been. It hasn't occurred twice. Like, even though we've had mass extinctions, we've had several mass extinctions. The first spark of life being created has only happened once. And there's speculation that maybe there was a meteor that's hit from elsewhere in the universe that has caused life to originate on Earth. But scientists do not know where that first spark of life on Earth came from, from which everything else evolved.
But there's a big difference between that evolution of life to a tiny little one cellular microbe to a conscious being immediately. That's a totally...
Yes. Oh, yes, I agree. I think that's kind of where they were going with it, was like it was this from something that's not alive to something. I mean, and they even says, I'm alive, right? So it's kind of...
to me...
Again, it's really cliched and really... kind of lame, but I think that was what the analogy they were trying to make with the movie was to make it this.
And they're dealing with the technology they had at the time. But to me, it's too big of a pill to swallow. Whereas I would prefer that they did something like they did in Ex Machina, where they explained a way of how the intelligence was brought into the creature, and they programmed it to start developing itself. And that to me makes a lot more sense. I'm much more likely to believe that.
Well, I kind of think that it made it more. It was unique. It wasn't something like his becoming alive wasn't something that was made by people.
Kiki and I decided to leave the room at the same time, and I didn't realise she was leaving as well, so I just stepped onto her paw. And she went and ran away, and then that scared Tombo when he ran away.
You're just mean.
They're both standing in the dining room looking very confused.
Why did you decide to be mean and step on me? You're mean.
So obviously they deserve treatment.
What was the thing with Short Circuit is? It was a children/family movie.
Yeah.
I
think the thing is, I actually think it was to do with it was a choice that the filmmakers made to try and make him more personable and more likable. Because he was a unique, magical almost occurrence that's happened, that he's had this consciousness. It wasn't something that was designed by people. And I think the fact that he wasn't designed by people and it was almost this miracle that he gained this consciousness made him more, it made it easier for people to see him as more human, more like a person.
So there's two scenes that I wanted to ask Mel about, because they're in my head as being, well, there's three scenes actually that I from that movie that I always really enjoyed. The first one where he's in Ali Sheedy's place and he's reading all the books and he's more data. I always remember that.
That was what I was just going to say. So I'm like, man, I wish I could read like that.
Yep. So he's asking for input, and so he starts reading all the books and everything to try and take things in. And they try to just demonstrate that he is that his ability to understand things is based on the fact that he only remembered it from books. So if you've ever watched Data in season 1, or really the first couple of episodes of Next Generation, it's kind of like that, where everything is explained, and he gives every synonym for every word that he uses and things like that. Is that what you wanted to know?
Yeah, I think it was just, so I remember that very fondly, because I kind of felt like to your problem with the whole lightning thing, I actually remember that being quite a nice, like, oh, he isn't just alive and knows everything. He actually needed input to algorithmically learn what he needed to know and almost help fashion his personality, as it were. But I don't know, considering I was like,
kind of like
10 last time I saw it. I don't know if that's true. If that's what it felt like.
I enjoyed
like he's taking everything literally.
Yeah, no. You can't apply too much brain power to it. It's the thing is sorry.
It's a kids movie.
It's a kids movie, but the reason I'm fine with it being a kids movie and presented in that way, but as a discussion of AI, it may as well have been a dog that suddenly became intelligent.
Yeah, okay. I did find interesting that he goes to this bookshop and he just reads like everything in the bookshop, and he's like, I love input. Yeah. But I like these
no
two
context,
the best.
Dude.
I like these two the best, and the 2 books that he picks are Frankenstein and Pinocchio. And I like that. I like that he's like, okay, I'm thinking about how I am as a consciousness, and I want to be a real boy.
Yeah. He sees himself in the text and he finds his personal representation.
Yeah.
And
that's a strong drink.
I think that there's a lot of elements along those lines which are nice, but again, I think it fails as a text. Sorry, Sarah, I don't mean to criticize it this way, but
no.
I think it fails as a text for us as an AI discussion.
Okay.
Oh.
That's cool.
I also think, Mel, too, you're looking at it because you watched it the other day, whereas we're looking at it through this rose-coloured nostalgia glasses.
I felt the same way, and I enjoyed the scenes as I was watching them, but I was watching it 2 ways. I was watching it as a nostalgia piece, but I was also watching it as a reflection for this discussion.
So as a reflection for this discussion, I don't think it's been a waste of time, because I think what it's shown is that we as humans, and as we have adapted and adopted technology into our lives more and more and more, have also evolved how we think about AI. I mean, if you compare that to Interstellar and how the robots were in that, quite a different concept from from Johnny Five. Saying that, Wally was based on Johnny Five. I
remember when that came out. I was like, wait a minute, he's Short Circuit, he's Johnny Five.
He's Johnny Five.
All the kids that were watching it when that came out didn't know what I was talking
about. Right down to putting on his parts from the old parts and things on those lines. So yeah. Because he does that in the first movie as well. And that scene where he constructs another one so that he can escape the bad dudes. It's so good.
My favourite scene, and this is second reminiscing, is where he's singing More Than a Woman to Ali Sheedy, because that's how I always sing that song now. More than a woman.
And he's spinning around.
Talking a woman to me.
Actually, that's interesting, as you state that the way we thought about AI in the 80s is very different from the way we think about AI now, and the way we approach stories with them as well. And that's what I think, when in another 10 to 20 years, it's still going to be so much more different than the way we're thinking of it now. Maybe a little less, because we're sort of taking that on the downward curve.
That was quite interesting.
That
which one did you say,
curve is starting to plateau a bit more.
Sorry,
Space Odyssey.
Oh yeah, like how?
That was he was an AI, and he was learning, and then he decided to make his own conscious decision.
Maybe there needs to be 2 definitions. Maybe we need AI and then like an artificial consciousness and an artificial intelligence, because there's a difference. And I think I've always kind of seen
conscious artificial entities in it.
Yeah. I've always seen AI as meaning artificial consciousness, like your Skynet kind of thing. It's like they became self-aware, right?
Yeah.
Like
the Matrix is the same, right? It's the same thing.
Or the Matrix, or Now it's gone
But
out
in
of
the
my head.
case of, say,
I forgot about the Matrix.
which
That's right.
is the one
At the
that
end.
Will Smith was in? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Men in Black?
iRobot.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The whole that robot that's running everything, not the robot, that AI that's running everything, not the robot.
The big core. Yeah.
Yeah. That one is not conscious and yet still decided that it was the right thing to do what it was doing and wreaked havoc and kill everybody.
Yeah.
Which
But
also
he was different,
I have
wasn't he?
not
He was
seen that movie in
raised.
so long. That I
Sorry,
forgot
Matt,
about
what are
it.
you saying? Matt?
if it's not a true consciousness and it's an AI, as in just an intelligence that's been artificially programmed, then somewhere along the line, a human has programmed it, and it's the human's fault that it's ended up making that decision.
Like Hal
Yes,
in
that's it.
Space
Yeah.
Odyssey 2001.
Yeah,
and then
that's the big
2000.
thing. It's the way that humans program them. There was one thing, because I just read the articles before I started. I only got halfway through the last one.
That's right.
He
They were
mentions,
bonus points.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't do the article. Sorry.
One of the
AI
guys.
can only really be as good as the human that programs it. So if you don't have a really, sympathetic human programming it that, wants to protect human life, you'll end up with AI that isn't very protective of human life. Like, they may not program it to kill humans, but that doesn't mean that it will protect humans.
Yes. Yeah.
As a
Like,
monster.
if you program it to do a task and it keeps going until it's done that task, but you don't set the programmer doesn't set anything to protect people in its way or something like that. If its task is to get from point A to point B, but you haven't programmed it to go around people, it'll just go straight through them if that's the most direct path. So it has a lot to do with the people programming it as well.
And I think that's where you get into the really interesting equation that they mentioned, I think, in the podcast, where they were talking about the fact of what if you can't save everyone. So let's say it's a car that's driving and it's got people in its passenger seat.
Yeah.
And it's going to hit people. And its only way to stop from hitting people is to kill the people in the car.
The funny thing is, while I was, I don't even know, I think I must have watched the CPJ Grey video. A Jacksepticeye video popped up where he was playing a game. It was basically a programming of what would you do in a situation if you were the automatic car, and it had all these different situations, and you had to choose A, B, C, D, who dies.
Yeah.
In that automatic car, and these are what programmers are going to have to figure out what is the imperative when it comes to pedestrians and cars. Cars self-driving, but there are pedestrians doing the wrong thing.
And that's a great thing that came up. I would wonder if you could share that with the group, Kim, because that's always the thing that I keep going back to. I'm like going, one, it's going to be a transition. It's not going to be an all or nothing thing, right?
Yeah, that's right.
We're going to have human drivers with self-driving cars. And two, pedestrians do the wrong fucking thing all the time. It's just, we cross the road, we jaywalk, we have drinks, and
headphones are not looking.
Exactly.
Was it the podcast or the video where they were talking about, the car's got to make a decision between running into a light pole and hitting a school bus or something? And it's like, well, if you run into the light pole, you're only going to kill the people that are in your car. But if you run into the school bus, you might kill a school bus full of children. But then how is it calculating the odds of survival? Like, if you hit the school bus, like, it might be a bad crash, but everyone gets knocked around and nobody actually dies. Whereas if you hit the light pole, it might just kill everyone in your car. Like, how is it making that decision? Is it calculating
like
survival chances?
It's not going to know. It's not going to know how many people are on the bus. What ages are those people? Are they all school kids?
It will.
It might be able to have like a
If they're visible,
it will.
If they're visible, or if that
know
bus,
exactly how many passengers are on that bus, will know everything about it.
Yes. If that bus, that's the thing with if it's not two self-driving vehicles. Then that other car, that self-driving car, is going to have to be programmed, not knowing what's going to happen if it hits the bus. If that bus is not a self-driving car. But I think the most likely scenario is the bus is probably going to be self-driving before the car.
I agree.
Yeah, that's true.
I agree.
There'll be a few self-driving cars, then it'll be public transport, and then it'll be.
We've got a self-driving bus here.
The other thing too is that there's only so many variables that technology can actually deal with at one time. A really good example I've seen of this is when you use Google Maps and you put too many destinations in. When you get to a certain number of, it's computational time and how long it actually takes to process something. And obviously over time we get better with that, but it's the building of the technology versus our ability to create computational time to deal with those situations. Because basically if you put in 20 destinations, that takes a day for it to figure out the best way for you to travel between them.
So my question to Matt was, like, what happens when it just randomly drops off the network? Because I just bought a new printer that is a Wi-Fi printer, and half the time it doesn't fucking connect to the Wi-Fi. So if my printer can't figure it out, how can? And I said to Matt, like, what happens when my car just randomly goes, oh, Wi-Fi's gone?
Yeah.
Now what?
And look at
So the safest thing for us to
have
do
a
is
backup
to
to communicate with the cars in its vicinity.
And look at this
Even
country
if it
we're in.
can't.
We can't even get the NBN in, and let alone in a route like this country's massive. It's huge. So we're not going to have a network that is reaching. You know, so
the safe fallback is for the whatever drops off the network stops. Everything else,
well, that'll be handy.
Yes,
that's right. I'm halfway to Broken
It's
Hill
the
and it's
safest
like off the
thing.
net.
Imagine it connects to the cars surrounding it and pulls over when there's a safe
Yeah, but
spot.
if it can't find any signal at all, like if it's just
that's my
dropped off the
thing. I don't think it's
network,
find a signal. I think that's
If
It
it's
would
no
probably
signal,
drop
it
down to
stops.
back by the Google car. Google car would be calculating the other cars around it, wouldn't it? It would have to be programmed to be able to drive, not as well, but to drive with
you've got
monitor
two ways of. There's two ways of dealing with it. There's the passive solution, which is to pull the car into a safe place and stop. And so remove yourself from the traffic equation, let all the other cars that are still in the network go about their business until the situation is rectified. The other alternative is the active fallback, which is where you're off the network that everyone else is connected to, but you've still got your own internal sensors of being able to monitor the speeds of, you know, oncoming traffic and traffic around you in all different directions, and sort of drive that way.
do you think maybe they'll make cars like that is the first self-driving cars that are easily, like, I know there are already some, but I mean, you know, easily available to the layperson? Will they make them like, okay, you can't, the self-driving thing is fucked up. Can we just, you know, like you can switch over from the sports mode on your car to just full automatic?
That's
like, will they
are.
switch it so that you have a little button where you can go, okay, I'm just going to drive myself?
Yeah, but that's what they are at the moment. So there are self-driving
Yeah,
cars.
Teslas do that.
Tesla, BMW, Chrysler, that's what they've got.
Yeah.
Oh,
What
someone's
I
sharing a link.
imagine-
I've posted it in the Facebook group as well, so you can watch it later. So it's called The Moral Machine.
Thank you. I will watch that.
And there's a link to the actual website game in his video as well.
Cool.
Yeah. What you'll probably get more of is you'll get like built up cities and that kind of thing where if you've got a self-driving car, they'll have to be, you know, adhere to whatever standards and everything they have, that you can't activate the self-driving part while you're in certain parts. You know, so if you're in the CBD, that car to be sold needs to respect whatever standards they've got set up about it. And when it detects that it's moved into that thing, you can no longer activate self-driving.
Right.
And you've also got that
your own driving.
Yeah.
So,
and you've also got cars that already park themselves, but you don't have to use it.
Oh,
as well.
yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
I want one of them.
Yeah. But it's one of those things, again, it's going to be that it's all transitional, right? That'll be the way that kind of
it's adoption until it.
Yeah, it's
Will
all
you be-
optional. Yeah.
Will you be able to get into a self-driving car if you're intoxicated? Or will you have to still be...
Yes.
What's the point if you can't?
I think the original,
That's my thing, right?
the original
Pretty good, though.
that you have to be able to drive to get in a self-driving car in case it fails.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
But further
it will
along,
take a while to catch up to the technology.
yeah, then further along, there would be
I
fully
think
self-driving.
there is an opportunity. There's a really big opportunity, though. I see Google. I think this is what will usurp Uber. Will be a fleet of cars that will actually be basically like taxis.
Yeah.
Well, what they were proposing in London at one point, which I don't know if it ever amounted to anything was basically personal buses where they were along a track. They were electronically powered along a track around a certain area in London, and they were like 4 passenger cabs, and they just, you'd get in them and go to a particular destination along that route.
Right.
Like, that would be so much better than a bus.
Yeah.
Well, you would not be able to install it in like an existing city. It just wouldn't work. But
I'd rather get into a self-driving car than a taxi.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I think the utopia, which will be a long way off, is that nobody actually owns cars. That there are just cars, and you just call the car when you need the car. You get in, whatever passengers in the car seats adapt to the passenger, so you can get in with a newborn baby or a 2-year-old or somebody who has no legs, and they can still be comfortable. Everyone can get in, be comfortable, be safe, and that will take you to your destination. And exactly that intoxication point, because that's why people use cabs and Uber and all that kind of stuff, is because I mean, be responsible.
Yeah. When we get to that point, we should be like, when there's a point of no one owns a car, your profile will be, you know, you're a woman with 1 leg and you have 2 small children. So the car will come, the car that comes to you will be equipped for for a person that
it'll configure itself on the way. The seats will
either configure itself on the way, or there'll be certain cars, and that one will come pick you up. But, like, obviously, hopefully enough for everyone of different ranges. But like if you're disabled, you can't, and you need wheelchair access rather than I think it'd have to be one that
but again, I think and
eventually they would be able to
thought that we need to, if we can stop thinking in the way of certain cars will have certain things, that if we go, okay, how can we make
one
it
car that can do them all?
Exactly. That's I think.
But I think there's going to be, the most likely scenario is there's going to be several cars.
And admittedly, there'll be situations where it'll be like, I'm taking luggage, and there's an awful lot of luggage, and that'll be different from, okay, there's people, who all want to go in the same, and we're having a bit of a drinking session on the way or something like that,
Yeah, like I figured there'd be different types of vehicles for, like, I'm here with my 8 friends and our 3 dogs, and we all want to travel together to this other place, or I'm by myself and I just need a very small vehicle to get me to work.
And I love that idea of I'm by myself and I'm on this route, that kind of thing. Were you just talking about that with London? Was that you?
Yes.
Yeah, and I love that idea of then there's a payoff benefit of going, I don't mind that I'm sharing it with strangers, that kind of, what are they called in the States? Carpooling, yeah. Like you're kind of like, I'll be carpooling in this particular vehicle, so it will stop somewhere along the way to let somebody else in, and I paid less for that pay less for this transaction because it's not just my vehicle, it's a shared vehicle or something like that.
And because they bill you like Uber, then you don't have to worry about having to know what the right crash is, everything. It just all gets done online. Sorry, I love the fact that I can get out of my Uber and I don't have to actually worry about paying for anything. It's just done.
Yeah.
Actually, no Uber. Sheba. Yeah, baby.
What's Sheba?
Oh, look them up. Everything.
Yeah, they're on
females and children only.
Yeah.
Oh, really? No, isn't it called She Safe?
Sheba.
No, it's Sheba.
Sheba. Oh, there's another one called She Safe.
This one's New South Wales. Is there a Victoria and a Queensland
one?
There's
one that started in Melbourne or Sydney, and they're slowly rolling out. It's brand new. Yeah. People are just starting to apply, but I'd never heard of Sheba before.
I've not heard of it.
I'm
using it, so it's there.
Someone joined me into Sheba. I haven't used it. I'm not a big fan of the name, to be honest, but
oh my God, that's so cute. George's link to bus. It's adorable. It's a little shuttle bus.
The link in the doobly-doo.
The link in the doobly-doo.
They ran it for a while.
Is this G's link?
Yeah, G's link.
Yeah, G's link to the travelers.
I'm like, oh, it's so cute.
That is the cutest doodad. Oh, look, you see, we're making things cute to make them feel safer to us.
Is Perth our next hangout city? Are we what are we doing next year?
I don't think it's definitively been decided, but yes, I think Perth will probably be next.
Hopefully I can come next year.
That'd be really good.
I hope I can make the Perth one. God.
Do you think you can spare time out of your busy schedule?
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a really long trip for you, G, but you know, like I think maybe this time you should make the effort.
I'm totally going out of my way this year, so.
Yeah, no, Kim. Like, we're treating you go so far out of your way. We're so rude.
I'm so sad I can't come. Well,
we're sad too.
Yeah, we are.
Stupid balcony, stupid being jobless for a while.
Stupid adulting.
Yeah, stupid adulting. I like that.
Yeah.
That's it. I like
That
it.
sums it up.
Fucking money. I made a map for the group, and I'm like, oh, this is too many things to do, and they're like, I want to do everything. Well, Kirsten's like, I want to do everything.
Like, just sitting around and gas bagging.
Yes. Well, we can gas bag as we go to all the wineries.
I could drink a lot lot of wine. It's all right.
All the wineries.
Plus, we're all going to be in the same car. There's going to be
Speaking of which, Matt.
I know, I'm just replying.
Oh, that's right.
Coming.
I was going to add one, but the cellar door doesn't exist at the moment because there are.
There was a couple of the ones that you linked to that said that you need to book ahead too. So
yeah. I was just listing all the good ones, and like we can go through them later. And the book ahead ones, I'm like, maybe not. But
I was kind of thinking too, if they're so busy that you have to book ahead, maybe we should.
Some of them.
Sometimes the book ahead ones are worth doing because if you're booking ahead, they're only opening for you.
When we booked ahead in KI was absolutely brilliant, and it wasn't because they were busy; it was because they were small. And so they're quite happy for you to book ahead because then they'd have someone.
I think there's enough of you should book ahead and you'll have a really great experience.
The one on KI was just brilliant. It's the only place I've ever booked ahead, and it was a beautiful winery. And it's just because they don't have the staff. It's like they don't have that many people coming to taste at the moment because they're not like a huge place. So booking ahead just means we'll put someone on staff so you can come in.
Well, it's like a confirmation that you're coming. It's like, respecting their time, it's
and a lot of them ask you to book ahead for groups more than 10. I know will be less than that, but for some of them it might be nice.
A couple of the ones
just to send them an email to say we'll probably be coming down on this day. There'll probably be like 6 of us or 8 of us, 6 of us tasting or something like that. A couple of them, I don't know about Shaw and Smith. I couldn't find any information, but the Lane I know is for their standard block. Your tasting is $5, which is redeemable, which I think it's not too bad.
Most of the ones that I've done, it's $5 a tasting, and then if you buy a bottle, they take that $5 off the bottle.
You do get a lot of
in Queensland.
Attention,
yeah,
and you keep the riffraff out.
Sometimes
you really do keep the people that just come through.
What are we doing?
Yes, you feel less guilty because you paid for it. Yes.
Yeah, I like it too.
I like it because I feel like I can taste the wine, and if I don't want to buy one, I don't feel as obligated. Whereas when the wine tasting is free, I feel obligated to buy a bottle because I feel like, well, they've spent all this time talking to me. They've given me like at least a whole glass of wine in tasting. Like once you've tasted 5 little bits of wine, that's at least one whole glass.
They should have an AI doing it.
You know what I mean? And usually in the smaller places, it's the owner or something that comes and chats to you and stuff. And I feel like I just need to buy something because I feel guilty because I've taken up all the time.
I think it might be our Adelaide Wine Centre or somewhere. There's an actual vending machine you get tastings from, so you pay a little bit of money to get samples from the vending machine.
I think I went there. Last
year. The National Wine Centre is supposed to look like a wine barrel, and I keep thinking it looks like a ship that's half made.
Yeah, David Jones
that's half made.
It's on the corner of the city. Things that you had to smell.
Right.
They had all these little bottles.
I have never actually
smell these little bottles. And they were like, okay, these are the smells that you should be. You know how when people who know about wine are like, oh, yes, I get a gooseberry smell with this wine. And I'm like, it smells like wine. And
I like this one and I like this one. I do
good.
They had all these little bottles that you could smell. And it would say, you could smell this smell in this wine, blah, blah, blah.
Here we go. I'll post a link which will actually show the little server things that they've got in the tasting room.
I think first I saw that was Otago, I think, and they've got that in, have a look.
This was quite a long time
so
ago.
that thing that's exactly David Jones. They have a wine bar downstairs, and they're kind of, and it's really cool. It's all like that, and you just get a card and you just plug in what you want. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So good.
So this is like
And
a
they do
little
this-
tasting thing.
Yeah.
This is the place that I went to. Hang on, how do I
Yeah.
screen share this?
Well, it is part of the University of Adelaide, so that would make sense.
And half of you can't see me, can you?
Yeah.
Oh no, but I can see
that's
this
not-
though.
hang on.
Can you
I
see
saw
this,
that.
this picture?
Yeah.
No.
National Wine Centre.
Yes, National Wine Centre. That's the one.
Is this
It
the
is
place
that one.
that we're talking about?
Yeah,
I thought it was actually
like a big
close
wood.
to the
It looks
city.
like yes, it's right. It's just like as you come out of the parklands are on one side of you and this is on the other. It's pretty much still the city. Yeah, and it looks like it's supposed to be a big wine barrel from the outside.
Hey
I
guys,
can't
Like lots of
remember.
wooden slabs.
guys,
But that's National
Guys.
Wine Centre, yes.
hey guys. We're still live.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to get us back on topic. I'm waiting for them to
Sorry.
Sorry.
Hey, so how about those?
It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. Seriously, no, it wasn't my fault.
Yeah, I've got a big disclaimer. We go off topic a lot. I
Hi
actually
to everyone.
wanted to briefly, well, there was two things I wanted to talk about. Is the Golem and the Genie. I can't remember who. I think Matt said he hadn't had a chance to read it.
No.
I read a little
Not
bit,
likely
but not
to.
the whole thing.
And also Ruby Sparks, because they both follow that idea of I guess created beings. And I wanted to discuss without giving too much plot away, which I think is fine because we're talking about the characters themselves, and this is a whole big idea of it. Is so the Golem, especially the Golem versus Ruby, is that they're both created beings born from imagination and struggling with their own consciousness and fighting. I think the Golem was really well rounded out, I thought, and exactly what his struggles were. I can't remember her name. And
I was pronouncing it wrong the entire time I was reading it, and then I heard the Sword and Laser podcast talking about it, and they listened to the audio, and I was like, oh, that's not how I said her name at all. It was a like a Polish or something.
Yeah.
The funny thing is,
Something like
I related the Golem more to Frankenstein in terms of her construction and things like that. It wasn't body parts, but it felt more along those lines.
It was that whole thing of her. It was the slave aspect almost of her, like
That's it, right? What she was comfortable to, how she had been programmed.
Yes.
That's what I found interesting. And like, there's a body bit, but the bit that I found fascinating, why I wanted to bring this up, and the same thing with Ruby, was how the mind of these two characters was basically a slave to the creator of, this is the way I have been programmed, or this is, and so and Ruby, of course, I've forgotten his name, but he kept, kept fiddling with her. Like when she wanted to go off and have free will, he got unhappy about it. And then he started fiddling, and then, ruining the creation he had.
Yes.
With the Golem, I thought she was so, interesting. And I suppose that's a question, right? Like I like that idea of, okay, so if we start having a conscious, is that a risk? If we have a consciousness that is proving itself, an AI that's starting to prove itself as being a conscious entity, will we fiddle with it because we're, or do we leave it and evolve? I don't know if that's too highbrow for this discussion, but that kind of is what that kind of made me think of. And with the Golem, it's like she's been left to kind of evolve, like her programmer is not around anymore. And she's fighting her nature, right? The way she's been programmed versus what's going on outside of it. And I found a lot of parallels with a lot of these AI and artificial intelligence. Sorry, conscious intelligence.
Her name, by the way, was Harva. Harva, is that how you pronounce it?
Harva.
It's written Chava, and I was pronouncing it as Harva when I was reading
like
it.
Harva,
But
like
it's actually Harva.
Hooper, I should say.
Like, or something like that. Like the C is silent or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I remember being like, oh, I was saying it wrong.
But like it's from a Jewish tradition, that name. So in America, it's more known how to pronounce those sounds under Jewish language. So
yeah, I was like, I do it all the time. Like, I'm the worst for pronouncing names wrong. And I'm like, I'm really not trying to be racist. I just am really shit at doing other languages than my own. And it's not intentional. Like with kids at school, and I'm trying to read their name off the roll, and I'm like, I'm sorry in advance, I'm going to say your name wrong. And I'm
But
not
I mean, if
doing it on
someone
purpose.
tells you their name, you at least go, okay, that's how it's pronounced.
Yeah, I do. But then, like, I've had a lot of Islander kids in my class before, where they've said, this is how you say my last name. Usually the first names I'm pretty good with. And they've said, like, this is how you say my last name. And I say it back to them and they go, that's not what I said. And I'm like, I'll say it again. And they'll say it back to me and I'll say it back to them. And they'll be like, yeah, no, you're still not saying it right. And I'm like, I'm really trying. But I just, there's part of my brain that it's just not, doesn't work as far as languages go.
Yep.
And
Anyway.
Matt will do the same when he's trying to teach me Japanese. Like, he'll say it in Japanese and I'll say it back and go, yeah, that's not.
I have a friend, basically no one can pronounce his name. He's Polish and no one can pronounce his name. And you say it back to him, he's like, no. And he says it again and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to call you that.
Okay, so we have a viewer. So can I get back to the question that we had?
Oh, sorry. The viewer is me, just so I can see Sarah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I'm just like, I miss seeing Sarah. She's talking a lot and I can't see her. It's a bit delayed, but now I can see you.
Oh, wow.
I can see myself too.
So did anyone have any thoughts who had either watched Ruby Sparks or read The Golem and the Genie?
I can't remember Ruby Sparks very well, but I think The Golem and the Genie, that what the podcast was talking about the slave aspect, really touched on that, especially even though her maker and suppose, you know, not owner's not the word I'm looking for, but
a programmer.
I can't think of programmer, maybe.
Designer, maybe.
Designer, yeah. He's not there anymore, but she still has this, like, she has this need where she has to be doing things to be useful. She can't sit, you know, she's sitting up at night doing the sewing and stuff because she can't sleep. Like, she doesn't sleep, and she has this she's compelled to work to make herself be useful.
But the other thing is, it's not that she's feeling bad because she wants to sleep. She's feeling bad because she appears not human.
Yes.
And she doesn't want to get anyone in trouble by appearing not human. Like, she's
especially.
Like, if she was told, you just here's your space, you do whatever it is that you feel comfortable doing, whatever makes you happy, you know, that would, I think, be a less of a stressor for her than being like, I must try and lay here and sleep. And then, you know, I get up in the middle of the night and sneak away and do repair, like, you know, darning and repairs on clothes and things like that.
Wasn't she, like, ripping the clothes apart and then remending them because she had nothing else to do?
Yeah, but I feel like that's partially because it's not like she had a whole heap of money so she could just go find things to do, plus it would look suspicious anyway. I would need to keep busy if I couldn't sleep at night as well.
Yeah.
I would be so totally bored.
Oh, yeah. But I felt very bad for her that she didn't enjoy reading. Like, she tried reading a book and was like, eh. And I'm like, you're insane. You could just read all the books.
Yeah, it's because
all of the books.
In a way, she'd been programmed to be useful. You know, and that's like, I think what I found so interesting is that she was an artificial intelligence who became a conscious entity, and she struggled with what she'd been programmed to do versus the free will she suddenly had. And that's why I think it's interesting if we think about, like, I think her was almost quite similar, right? Like I
haven't seen that one.
What do you call it? The system. It's a system, right?
The operating system.
The operating system. And that she had free will, and it's kind of working out what it wanted versus what its owner wanted, you know, or owners, as it were. Wanted to make the owner happy, which was, you know, Joaquin Phoenix. That's Joaquin. The J is pronounced as a W.
Yes. That's one that I can say correctly.
Yeah, I was just like, just in case you pronounce it Joachim.
The thing with the Golem and the Ginny, though, is that she's also had that secondary layer of the time that she was in and being female.
Yeah.
So if she had been male, she may have been able to spend her nights going out and walking the streets on her own and exploring things and not having that thing of feeling like she had to stay inside. Like, because the Ginny didn't really have that problem.
No, but he wasn't an AI.
No, but I mean, that whole thing of her not sleeping and needing to find something to do in that time. But she was also female and she couldn't be out on the street on her own because that was not the done thing. And so that was an extra layer, you know, that made things difficult for her. Whereas if she had been male, it may have been completely different.
And also, like, if it was another time period, like if it was in 2017, it would be less weird for a woman to be out alone in the streets. Like, yeah, it would still be a little bit weird in the middle of the night to see a woman walking alone, but it wouldn't be the scandal that it was in that time period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, a woman seen alone in the streets in that time period, if she was she was a streetwalker. Like, that was all that was the only reason a woman would be on the street.
You could actually be arrested. Back in those days, you could actually be arrested.
Yeah.
If you're a woman out at night without a male escort, then you could be arrested for prostitution. Because when we went to Tassie and we were looking in, we went to the female factory, which was the female prison in Hobart.
Yeah.
And like there was all these women there that were there for prostitution. But if you were pregnant out of wedlock, you could be arrested for prostitution. And if you were on the streets without a male escort, you could be arrested for prostitution.
Yeah.
So, and that was probably about the same time period, like 1800s, because this wouldn't have been.
Which I think brings up that interest. It's like what Mel said before. If we're gonna, now we've come forward, like it made sense. The time, in a way, she was a sex bot. Like a modern day
she was,
right?
Yep.
So if we it would be interesting to know if Harvard as a modern day interpretation, given the same issue, she was programmed, her owner died suddenly, and she's become she's got a consciousness to her what way she wants to continue to serve, if she'd want to continue to serve, if that would be her thing. It was like whether she'd be seeking out companionship because that's what she feels she needs to do. I mean, I think it's just kind of an interesting.
Yeah, I found it interesting that she was drawn. She wanted a master. She wanted someone to tell her what to do because
that's why she was so happy in the bakery. She was so happy in the bakery because it was a job. She was told what to do. She could do it. It was. Very much like a machine type job, right? You do this, you fold things, you do this, you do,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was very like, here are your set tasks that you need to do today. Have at it. Like, it wasn't like because I mean, especially in the beginning, she struggled doing the front sort of counter where she had to sort of talk with people and like communicate with them and try and get what they wanted without actually sort of like reading their mind, which she was trying not to do.
But she also kind of struggled with not being perfect. Like I have to kind of go a bit slower and not do it. I have to deliberately make a mistake every now and then. Otherwise, they're going to think something's wrong with me.
Yeah. I think any robot, if it was programmed and was trying to hide, that's exactly what they would want to do so that they would appear, especially if it was known that robots existed. Like, I would imagine that was part of the programming for the Cylons when they're in their human form, is that they definitely have to, the whole point behind them was that they were technically sentient, therefore were not perfect and did make mistakes. But the same thing would be that case. They would have to make mistakes so that they could hide in amongst the crowd.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the AI that's in humans, like the basic ones that are designed, they don't have, like they like if they didn't have a master, they would just sit themselves down and shut off. Like they're not designed to, like, they're designed to do their tasks, and that's all they're sort of designed for. They're not designed to, like, you can have a carer bot that comes into your house and cares for your children, but they're not like caring for them the way a parent would. Like, they'll sit and read a story and then they'll close the book say goodnight and turn off the light. But a parent will read the book, you know, tuck the child in, cuddle them. You know, it's a lot more of a sort of interactive sort of thing.
That reminds me of that. What was that book that we read? Midnight Robber.
Yeah.
And they had the AI that would, like, they had the nanny. What was it called?
Nanny bot or something along those lines. Nanny.
Nanny bot. The nanny, the overarching like nanny thing that was like everybody had in their head. But there was also these like AI characters that would be looking after the children.
Oh yeah, it was the house one. No. There was the
I'm getting confused now.
And then there was also the house itself, because the house was sentient. Well,
yeah, and it was kind of linked into an overarching network that was kind of all one sentient.
Yeah.
Did you read that book, Sarah?
No, I didn't. I was just listening in because it sounds interesting.
Yeah, I think this would have been
about halfway through
the whole topic, because there was like an AI that kind of
ruled everyone. Everyone had like an impact.
Yeah, it ruled everyone, and it kind of looked after everyone and made sure that everyone was safe and that sort of thing. And
kind of like a Bluetooth, wasn't it? In a way.
Yeah, it was actually like an implant.
More like Big Brother.
It was the thing they put into the baby's ears when the baby was born. They'd put these little bots into their ears. They were like nanites or something.
Right. Can you make like a little ear with nanite in your head?
Oh God. I can't remember what they were called.
Pretty Matrix.
Definitely.
Yeah, but it was like
who's got the book?
I borrowed it from the library, so I don't have it anymore.
I have the audio book, but so that's not going to help.
Actually,
it was
I didn't have the audio.
It was Nanny something, because this Nanny song was the sort of, that's super complicated, but yeah.
But yeah, that was an interesting.
I just wrote Midnight Robot.
That was an interesting version of AI. That only occurred to me just now. Like,
well, that's actually that's quite an interesting topic.
Granny Nanny.
Granny Nanny.
As we move towards being, more, we've got phones, but when we got watches, when does it become that we want to actually have it embedded into us?
Well, that was kind of what it was. It was like these nanites in your brain. It was almost like an internet. Like you could ask Granny Nanny, questions, and she would talk to her. And
yeah, I guess that's a question for the group. Is like, because it certainly makes me uncomfortable, even though I know that it could be quite amazing technology as far as medical stuff, right? So if you suffer from a medical condition, it could probably tell you. So if you suffer from epilepsy, there could be the possibility that if you had a nanobot within you, interfacing, learning how you work.
News about that.
Yeah, well, I know it's becoming a reality, like diabetics. So it's been.
I think that's
about for diabetics. It's been talked about, but that ability to, that it could tell you before it happens, and if not help you prevent it, at least get you to be in a safe place.
Yeah, so you're not in the shower or something when you have a seizure.
Ambulance before you have like a stroke or something.
Yeah, exactly.
On their way.
So I see the positive. I totally see the positiveness. It's that, but then there's that uncomfortableness of going,
the big brother.
Or just having something foreign in your body. I mean, I don't know how people who've had heart pieces put in, because the people who
understand.
Yeah, thank you. That's the word. That's it. How they feel about that. So the people who have these little kind of computers working, but they're not interfacing with anything. They're just So I don't know. How do people feel about it? Are you ready to get your little what do they call it in steampunk novels? Are you ready to get
augmented?
Thank you. That's the word.
Augmented.
I lose all my words. You guys get them for me.
Yes. That was the funny thing in Midnight Robber, is that even though there was this overarching AI that took care of everyone, that AI still gave people the choice to whether they had the implant or not, or whether they worked with were under constant surveillance or not. Which was really if there was an AI in my, in this world, that would probably be the best one out of all the theoretical ones in movies.
It was kind of a utopian kind of AI society but yeah, like there was those people that decided that they just weren't into that, and they were like, And they were kind of viewed as like weirdos by most of the population, you know, like, oh, they're those people that don't go onto the network, and they had to do like, and they did menial jobs like what was the taxi thing where they like, it was kind of like a rickshaw,
like the runners. It kind of reminds me of like you know, in like Thailand or something, where you've got the people running
rickshaw.
in the cart, the rickshaws. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and they're pulling that along and stuff, and the other people are kind of like, well, we don't do menial work anymore because there's robots to do that. We only do kind of the intellectual work, right?
Yeah, except for artisans. Artisans were still doing work.
Yes. Yeah. But these were people that are deliberately
intellectual work instead.
Sorry, Diane. She's dying to say something.
I've been trying to interrupt for like the last 2 minutes. Just going back to medical robots. I was listening to, I think it was Dear Hank and John, and they were talking about these new robots that they're bringing out. They're trialing in the UK, I think, for older people, where they basically watch them in their living environment. So if they're living in their own home or in a nursing home, because these robots can tell, I want to say it's like 98% of the time when a patient's going to have a fall.
Wow.
Because your stride lives within like 2 centimeters, and your gait changes, and it can tell, like, it's like cameras that are watching your gait and your steps and stuff, and they can tell like with fairly good accuracy that this older person's going to have a fall, and a fall in an older person could mean the difference between living and dying, especially when you're in that 90 plus range. Like one fall could
kill you.
One fall could basically kill you.
My great uncle, basically, like, he had one bad fall too many and went into hospital. And then there's all these once he was in the hospital, then he got other complications. And
it's so, like, especially when you're that old, it's so hard. Once you've had even just one fall, like, the healing takes so long, but all the complications from being in hospital and not being able to mobilize, like, just those sorts of machines that are very basic. Like, it's just not even that. Like, sometimes the fall it breaks nothing, but because you can't mobilize the same way that you used to, your muscles deteriorate, and then you can't mobilize at all, and then you get worse, and it's just a cycle of getting worse and worse. Like, that's technology that's fairly basic. Like, it's cameras that are just watching people walk and watching their gait, and they, like, the sort of AI behind it can measure people's gait, and, you know, they can tell fairly accurately this person's going to have a fall. I think it was within 5 days or 3 days or something.
Wow.
They can, like, you know, get that person help and either get them a walking aid or, you know, change what their living arrangement is, but they can make changes to make sure that person doesn't have a fall.
Yeah.
And do you think that perhaps the people in the age range that's likely to happen are more likely to be the most resistant to the idea of an AI deciding this, you know, like having this technology in their house?
Well, yes and no. Like, I mean, they may weigh up the pros and cons of, I don't want to have a fall and have to be in hospital for, you know, anywhere from a month to 6 months.
Yeah. I think with my uncle it would have been like, they would have had to tell him either you have this or you go in a nursing home, because he was so adamant that he wouldn't go in a nursing home. And I actually think that part of the reason he died was because he was like, he had a fall. It was like he'd had lots of falls, and he had this last fall where he went into hospital, and they basically said, you know, you're not coming back out of hospital. Like, if you have another fall, you have to go in a nursing home. And he did have another fall, and then he was like, he died in hospital after that. And I reckon he was just like, no, fuck it, I'm not going to the nursing home, no matter what you tell me. And that's it. He was in his late 90s, so, you know.
I could see this becoming a standard part of nursing homes to reduce the premiums. I could see that being something. So you would build, or a retirement village, you would build your village and you would build this into it.
Yeah. I mean, not just that, but, like, it would reduce the amount of, because, I mean, you wouldn't have less, like, nurses, because, like, especially with RNs, you need those to give the medications, but you would have, like, less PCAs, because you'd need less people to, like, watch people when they mobilize. Like, if you know that a patient is within 3 days of having a fall, you can give more attention to that patient and make sure that they've got the walking aids to make sure that that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like it would be less like, it might be more money on the outlay for a nursing home or a retirement village.
But it would save them
in the long run, it would save them insurance and staffing hours because they wouldn't need to give.
Prevention is better than cure and also cheaper generally.
Definitely.
But would anybody here be open to a nanobot?
No. They were the exoskeletons that they've been developing look pretty good to me as a person who constantly falls over and breaks arms and legs.
I like the idea of mechanical things. Not so much like I don't know, nanobots kind of freak me out because.
Do you think it's because we read the Silo trilogy? Because that's what freaks me out.
There's a lot of other things that freak me out about it.
I also read there's a Michael Crichton book called Prey that's all about nanobots, which is like terrifying as well. Maybe I've read too much sci-fi.
What is that? There's that kids movie with nanobots. Big Hero 5. Even that's kind of scary when you think about nanobots.
Well, actually,
I have a nanobot. Absolutely,
is essentially the big health robot that Naomi was talking about.
Yeah.
Completely against having a nanobot, only because in myself, I have a nanobot.
I think it was
only in myself. I've had health issues that doctors have not been able to work out with, blood tests and scopes and biopsies and all sorts of things, and they can't work out what's wrong with me. I get constant nausea and vomiting, and they can't work it out. Like they cannot work it out. Like.
I think that's probably where the line would have to be, wouldn't it? Like you'd have to be like, it has to be for a reason. Like if they said, look, you've got cancer, we've got this new experimental treatment where these nanites come in and take out the cancer, I'd be like, yep, sign me up.
I think it's less about nanobots for me and more about what they do. What function are they serving? If it's something like preventing or treating cancer, yes. If it's something about diagnosing, yes. It's depending on what they're doing and what they're programmed to do and what they could possibly be programmed to do if they're interfacing with another computer. And can they be changed? That sort of thing where they can be affected while they're in your body to do something different. If they can't, or it's within a range, or they get flushed out of your body after a certain time, I'd be much more comfortable. But
that's what I want. I want the nanites that you can go activate. Here's the job you have to do, and then once you've done that job, you deactivate and you get removed from the system. And that I don't like the idea of the nanites like in Midnight Robber, where it's like you're a newborn baby and we're going to put these things in you and they're going to be in you forever.
And to be fair, I could see it being a thing like your body. Sorry, I just don't know if it's my daughter. I don't know, somebody's kid, and I don't know if it's mine or somebody online.
Yeah, I can hear it.
I can hear that.
Just heard a kid.
Not ours, I don't think.
It's
might be
mine.
Jasmine. There we go.
He's going to bed, and Dad's trying to read to him, but he just wants to come in. No.
I just keep going, and I keep thinking, Luna? Is it Luna?
Hi, Blake. Keep saying hello. He's not very verbal, so he likes to repeat himself a lot.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I can't remember where I was going. Something about like the body the body aims to get rid of foreign bodies, right? Like within it. So even piercings. Like if you have a piercing, like eyebrows and stuff. I think Naomi, did you have a eyebrow piercing for a while? Was that you? No,
not me.
I thought somebody did, and they will work. Because we grow, they get worked out. So I know that's something that they've talked about with is it heart stems? Is that what they're called, Jasmine? I can't remember the name. Stents, thank you. Like that's something they always keep in mind is that our bodies grow and rejuvenate and they push out because they're foreign and they're not.
Yeah. Well, my mum has 2 bionic knees.
That's pretty
nice.
Cool. That's pretty cool.
She had 2 full knee replacements.
Yeah. Well, my husband's got like screws in the shoulder.
Robots, get them.
It's always she's part robot. I keep telling her that. You're like part robot. You've got 2 bionic knees.
She might rise up and end us all.
Yes. I heard
her knees.
What's G saying something, G?
We did have the discussion at uni as to like where if we start replacing things in ourselves, where is the point between humanity and machine? And
we
can go the other way round. Where does the machine become human? Like
was it Bicentennial Man? Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Yes,
it's good. Go watch that.
Yeah.
Oh, was that with Robin? That's
Robin
Williams.
Williams.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Robin Williams.
And actually,
Robin Williams.
The replicants in Blade Runner are the same because they're pretty much they're flesh and blood. So it's that question of what makes a human, and then what makes them artificial.
Yeah,
it's a good question. Gee,
and
also, I don't know if
we
anybody
make an artificial version of that in order to make an artificial intelligence?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, I don't know if anybody else read it. Thank you for sharing that short story. I thought it was really, really good.
It was so good.
It was fantastic. So thank
I
you
didn't
so
get a
much.
chance to read it.
No,
it's really short.
It's really short, but it's really powerful. And I
confess, I didn't realize that it was one that you could click and read. I thought you had to buy the book, and so I didn't. Because I have no money.
Anyway, it was excellent.
Who was the writer? I won't be able to get back up.
Gerald. She's got a picture that went with it. I'll pull it up and I'll link it in. It's hot.
But they were conscious, weren't they? They were conscious.
Yeah, they were. And it's funny because it was post-apocalyptic as well. So it was like humanity had died and left.
They're gone and left them behind.
Robots.
Yeah. It reminds
me they would outlive them all because they
they had a purpose while there were humans there, but there was no purpose when there was no humans. So they just walked.
Yeah. Did anyone see that movie with and I've forgotten the name of it, but Haley Joel Osment?
AI. It was actually
AI.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I could watch that now because it was too bloody sad when I watched it years ago.
Yeah,
it's such a sad movie. I watched that recently.
What made me sad is that because it reminded me of the short story reminded me of the end of that. Where
it was,
it was just so sad. It was like, sorry. Well,
I just left alone at the end with the looking for the blue fairy, wasn't he?
The blue fairy.
Yeah.
But the way there was no humans left at the end and things along those lines. It was sort of a fascinating look that we'd actually. I think in that one we died out though, hadn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a flood. I don't know.
I don't remember.
It was underwater for a
I just was sad because it reminded me so much of Kirsten Dunst's character from Interview with the Vampire, which I thought she should have won an Academy Award for because I was like the movie's like it's a fun movie, but the fact that she played basically a woman trapped in a child's body, and that's kind of how like the girl who never grew up, the Peter Pan complex, and that's how I felt about that performance as well, like that AI thing of going, and it was that ethical question, right? You've created something like, well, when you get sick of it, what do you do? Like you've created. I also don't think my other thing about that was I reflected on and went, I don't think that will happen because that's not what people want from children. They don't want a child to stay like that forever while they grow old. No. I think it kind of missed the mark on that.
Yeah.
But interesting that Black Mirror about the woman who wanted to recreate her husband because I can see you being that desperate, but then I can see it becoming an issue as time goes on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is
stay young while you get older.
Well, her problem with that was that no matter how much information she gave the bot, it was never him.
Yeah. There were certain little things that, because it could only feed from his profile online, it was very much like him, but it wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
She's like, he would be like this.
Yeah.
Like, well, there's no record of that. So
and it would drive her crazy because she said, oh, no, he'd do this. So the
good night.
It would order good night.
Oh, good night.
Yeah, I'll need to wrap this up soon anyway. But so we'll because I need to also go to bed because I have work.
With the
work.
Yeah, with the thing, like she'd be talking to it and be contradicting like his previous behavior, like what he actually behaved like, and she'd say no, he'd do this, and it'd automatically start doing that, which drove her absolutely mental because it's like you just
Yeah. I think it's also that sometimes I think part of it is that you can think that someone's going to react some way, but that's part of being human. You don't always know.
Yeah.
And people surprise you. You think they're going to be one way, and they're not.
Yep.
Like, I remember telling my mother, this was years ago, that I'd quit a job without another job to go to because I'd just gotten to the end of my rope. And I was expecting her to be really disappointed, or, you know, and she was like, no. And she was so like, yeah, because I've been there. And I was like, and I'd forgotten. And she was like, yeah, you gotta be happy. You gotta do what you want to do. You gotta be you. And I was like, whoa, you know. And so you never know. People, you know, you think you know really well, or you forget about, like, I think that's part of that. That's part of the thing. People can surprise you.
Yeah.
So.
And I think the thing is too, is that when you're trained to train something to be that person, even when they do surprise you, you would then question that and say, but that's not what I expected from that person, and therefore that's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happened, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, the robot was the robot was very quiescent. Like, if she asked him to do something and he didn't have any learning to be smart enough to work out that he wouldn't do that, it would do that. And, you know, humans being emotional, like, she'd go, just get out. So he'd go and stand outside. And it's like, he wouldn't do that, but that's her response, and that's what I'd think he'd do. So we would just stand outside. Just stand outside by the gate. She'd be like, what are you doing?
Creepy.
Well, you told me
Black
to get
Mirror is really good, guys. You should watch it.
Oh, Black Mirror. The only episode that sticks with me and is so disturbing is the very first episode, the very first season. If you do not want to be disturbed for the rest of your life, it was basically like Human Centipede disturbing. Maybe not that disturbing, actually.
You're not convincing me. You're not convincing me at all.
It's the only one that is like really freaky. I never want to see that ever again. That's it's just horrific. But the thing is with Black Mirror,
I'm officially sold that I'm never watching this show.
Yeah, I'm with you now.
It's the only one. It's the only one that I'm kind of like, I'm really freaked out now. But the thing that I think Black Mirror's was worse in this episode, like good worse, is that in Human Centipede, like, the psychology did not work at all. In Black Mirror, it's very don't watch Human Centipede. It's so stupid and so disgusting.
I don't. All I know is what the concept of Human Centipede is.
At least with like, it's not the same. It's just disgusting to a point that you kind of want to go, I never want to see that. The Black Mirror episode, but it's also psychologically disturbing, and a lot of the episodes are not disgusting. They're just psychologically, like, get into your head.
Sorry, never watching this. Never watching this. Sorry. Anyway.
No, me either, Mel. I'm with you.
Oh, it's really, it's definitely, I only watched the first season. I need to watch, I think it's up to third season now. I really want to watch it, but it's really like...
season.
I actually find the psychologically disturbing stuff to be worse. If it's just like gore and horror, I can get over that. It's the psychologically disturbing stuff that I find really difficult to deal with, because it stays with me and I can't get it out of my head. And
guys, I'm going to stop broadcasting now.
Yeah, we're getting a bit off.
Sorry about that again.
There we go.
I was going to say,